Chapter 5, Floating on Air. Mike's dad called up the stairs after dinner. 10 minutes till bedtime, Mike. What's happening up there? Mike was supposed to be reading and keeping track of the minutes in a journal. What was he really doing? Just getting my act together for tomorrow, Dad, he yelled. He knew how much his father dreamed of hearing those words. And it was true, in one way. His dad probably imagined Mike lining up his pencils or double-checking his spelling sheet. He wasn't thinking of the other meaning. Mike was actually getting his act together, his magical act. When he got home from the White Rabbit, Mike had raided the kitchen cupboard where his family kept the paper goods. Now he had a stack of styrofoam cups in his room to practice with. Mr. Zerlin had used paper, but it was easier to punch holes in the styrofoam. Mike could already guess what Nora would say. Styrofoam wasn't good for the environment, so wasn't it better that he used them all up? That's what he would say if she brought it up. Mike's door was closed. Even his window shades were down. Mike didn't want anyone to happen to see his trick when they were walking by his house. It had to be top secret till he tried it at school. Mike rehearsed one more time before he settled down with his book. The first step was to poke a hole in the back of the cup with his thumb. Mr. Zerlin had explained that was the key to the trick. Mike picked up the cup and faced the mirror on the back of his door. He felt a little silly talking to himself, but he had to practice to get it right. Watch me make this cup float in midair, he announced to nobody. Just an ordinary cup from a birthday party. See? Mike held the cup with both hands and displayed it for his pretend audience. He kept a straight face like he wasn't hiding anything. Really, though, one of his thumbs was stuck in the hole he'd made. The other hand was covering it so no one could see. 2 hands, he said, and no hands. He didn't have a good magic word figured out yet, but he could slip it in there at the big moment when he decided on one. When he said no hands, Mike removed all his fingers from around the cup except the thumb in the hole. He wiggled his fingers around the cup to show that they weren't holding on. In the mirror, all he could see was a cup hovering eerily in midair, under a magic spell. Floating in air. Before you start this trick, you will need a larger paper or foam cup. With your thumb, poke a hole in the cup about halfway up its side. Be careful the audience doesn't see you doing this. Now you can tell your audience that you are going to make this cup float in midair. First, make sure that nobody can watch you from behind. Begin by picking up the cup with both hands. The hole in the cup should be facing you, with one of your thumbs stuck through it. The rest of your fingers on both hands should wrap around the side of the cup toward the front. Hold the cup in the air approximately waist high, then slowly begin raising the cup while loosening the grip of the 9 fingers that are not in the hole. The fingers of both hands should remain close to the cup and move in a wiggling motion. The hand with the thumb that is not in the hole can move slightly away from the cup and back again. Try this in a zigzag pattern when moving the cup up and down again. When you and the audience are ready, you can catch the cup again with the rest of your fingers. Dispose of the cup immediately after the performance so the hole in the cup is not exposed. He could see the trick, the thumb in the hole, but if he did it right, his audience would only see magic. Abracadabra, he tried, saying in the mirror the next time he did the trick. Alakazam. That made him laugh every time he said it. He sounded like some guy in a fairy tale. But he had his first trick down, he was pretty sure. Tomorrow he would test it at lunchtime. While the rest of the class had social studies, Mike met with Mr. Malone, a math teacher who tutored students one-on-one. Maybe he could help Mike. That was supposed to be good news. But now everybody in his class would know, if they didn't already, that he needed extra help, that he was having extra trouble. Could magicians make themselves invisible? Maybe Mr. Zerlin could teach him that trick next. Mike answered all of Mr. Malone's questions. Yes, I can add and subtract. Still working on the times tables. While they were talking, Mike was playing with a rubber band. He stretched it and snapped it till the rubber band was loose and flexible. He hoped the teacher wouldn't notice, but then it shot across the room. He was really tired today, Mike said. That was why he couldn't stop fidgeting. But that wasn't really why he was about to jump out of his skin. He couldn't wait. He could not wait to work magic during fourth grade lunch. Best case scenario, he did the trick right and people thought it was cool. Worst case scenario, he did it wrong and no one ever let him live it down. It was a risk, but it wasn't like Mike had some great reputation to protect. He always met Charlie and Zach at the same fourth grade cafeteria table. Charlie tossed his lunchbox on the table and got right down to business. What do you have? He asked Mike. They weren't supposed to trade, but Charlie had a tried and true technique for trading under the table. Ham sandwich, Mike said. Grapes. Cheesy popcorn. Oh, yeah. Popcorn for a fruit snack? No deal. Mike changed the subject before Charlie could talk him out of his lemonade. Wait till you see what I've got. I learned a magic trick yesterday and I want to show you guys. Zach was finally out of the hot lunch line. A magic trick, he said. Not like those chattering teeth, right? Nope, much better. In a minute, though. Mike knew that when his friends dug into lunch, they wouldn't notice he was preparing his cup under the table. If Charlie could trade lunches under there, he knew there was enough cover to get the cup ready. Mike's back was to the wall, so nobody could see him from behind. We still need to get some kids for our soccer team, Zach said with a mouthful of grilled cheese. There are just enough of us now, but if anyone gets sick, we're in trouble. First game is coming up. Guess who's on the other team? Said Mike. He knew who, instantly. Jackson? Yep, he's gonna kill us if we don't have enough kids for substitutions. By the end of the game, we'll be falling all over the field. No way every kid should play every minute of a game. Charlie went in for the big question. Any chance you'll change your mind, Mike? My parents could take you to practice, Zach said. He let that sink in. Then he added a little something extra in a low voice so no one else would hear. You wouldn't have to go to Nora's. Yesterday, Mike would have done anything to get out of spending afternoons with Nora. Now he wasn't so sure. His parents thought he couldn't handle school and soccer at the same time. If somehow he convinced them to let him play, would he ever get to do anything else, like magic? I don't think so, Mike said. Zach looked at the table. We'll keep looking, I guess. Mike took a bite of his sandwich and quickly stuck his thumb into the hole in the cup. So, you guys want to see something cool? He said. The magic, yes, Charlie said. Mike put on a magician's voice. Observe as the styrofoam cup floats toward the ceiling. It was more dramatic than when he'd practiced in his room, but it just came out that way. Suddenly, Mike felt like a different person. He began by wrapping his fingers around the cup. Then, as he'd practiced, he let them go. Hocus pocus, he said. Charlie and Zach stared at the cup. It's floating, Charlie said, like he couldn't believe his eyes. Mike moved it up. He moved it down and around. It looked like the cup was following his hands. How's it doing that? Asked Zach. A kid from the next table turned around to look. Check it out, she said, nudging her friend. Mike didn't even know who those kids were. Now they knew who he was, though. Mike had an idea. Clap your hands and it'll come down, he told one of the girls. At her clap, he guided the cup down toward his sandwich. Awesome, said a boy from Mike's class. Do it again, someone else called from across the aisle. Show us how to do it, Charlie and Zach chimed in. Mike shook his head wisely, in his best impression of Mr. Zerlin, but it actually hurt his face not to smile. He felt like he could smile for the rest of the day. I can't, he said. It's magic.